Hello everyone, and welcome to a noisier than usual Canal Sidings Model Railway Channel video. This is just a general update. Still selling on eBay, so haven't done much modelling, but today I thought for the running session we'd have a passenger train service in each direction. We've had lots of freight, so I thought I'd ring the changes today and do something different. The things that are running, the one just going past now is a Bachmann to Zero, as you probably know, which doesn't actually have DCC sound fitted and may never have DC sound fitted. I haven't worked out really whether I'm going to do it or not. The other loco, and the one making all the noise, which is a bit too loud at the moment, could do with going down a notch, is an early Bachmann class 37. I'll let it go past. In the intercity livery, and it's fitted with a Hornby TTS sound decoder, which actually didn't work properly. Nothing wrong with the decoder apart from the design, and I'm going to talk about that with you a little later on when I show you what I've done inside it. As I say, it's an early Bachmann unit, therefore it's only got headlights, it has no tail lights. But as I've got a few Vitrain spares in my box, I'm going to attempt to fit some Vitrain's rear lights to it, with a couple of little surface mount LEDs glued onto the light pipes, if they'll fit. I don't know if they will. And then I can just put a couple of thin wires inside the body to connect them up, so that the one at the rear works off the one at the opposite end's headlights, so I won't need any more wires between loco and body. I'll just kill the sound on the 37 so that I don't have to shout any longer. That's a little better. As I say, after this segment of the video, what we'll do is we'll go over to my workbench, and we'll have a look inside that 37 and see what I had to do, and I'll explain to you the problems that it gave me. I've also used another one of Richard's speakers that I bought from him some time ago. That's Drake. Oh dear, I've forgotten his email address. I do apologise, his eBay name. It's Drake anyway. It's Rails and Roads, sorry, Roads and Rails Models. Okay, terrible today. Yes, Roads and Rails Models. He sells a lot of speakers. They actually do fitting for you and everything, but I've just been buying his speakers. I'll show you what I've done with one of the little sugar cubes that I got from him for, I think, about £2.50. And that's fitted in that class 37. Yes, that is a sugar cube, one sugar cube speaker. And then right at the end of the video I'll show you another project that I've got on the go, which I've only just started, which is a Helljan class 47. Again, fairly old model. So I'll let the trains go past one more time, and then I'll take you over to the workbench. Incidentally, the regional railways coaches that the 37 Intercity 37 is hauling are all from Bachmann. There are 4 at the moment. I've got another one on the way. The 4 that are there are 2 Mark 1 TSOs and 1 Mark 2A TSO and a Mark 1 BFK, which is typical of the sort of formation that they might have used on the North Wales coastline. That service ran into the likes of Crewe, Manchester, Birmingham, etc., which is exactly where I'm aiming this railway to be. A secondary line somewhere in the area that could easily have services to Crewe, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield. So yeah, that's why I've decided to go. I do love the Regional Railways livery, and I actually have a Regional Railways 37 that I could pull it with, but it doesn't have sound, so I didn't bother. 3 of the 4 coaches, the first 3 coaches in fact, are Bachmann's latest that come weathered and fitted with passengers. There aren't very many passengers in them, but it's probably enough. Unfortunately, when you pair a Bachmann Mark 1 and a Bachmann Mark 2A, the Bachmann Mark 2A rides too low, or the Mark 1 rides too high. And the stripes down the sides of the coaches don't match. And this was something that I really didn't think I could live with. And so what I did was I first of all tried the idea of lowering the Mark 1s, but that just wasn't going to happen. It would have been very difficult. You would have needed to mill a piece off of the top of the bogies in order to drop them down. So the other option was to lift the bodies on the Mark 2As, which actually turned out to be very easy. And I did it with some 10 thou washers with a 7mm internal diameter and a 17mm external diameter, and I cut those out from 10 thou plasticard with my trusty silhouette cutter. I'll put a video link at the end of the video to anybody who wants to see what my silhouette cutter is, if you've never heard of one. That's worked out very well, and they now sit such that the line is almost dead straight down the side of the train, which I find much more pleasing. I'm obviously going to have to do the same thing when the next Mark 2A that I've got on order arrives. Anyway, as I say, over to the workbench. Okay then, here we are at the workbench. Well, actually it's not the workbench, because my workbench is in a terrible state. So we're actually sitting at the technology bench, and I'm sitting over here, so if I lean forward I'll get in the way of the camera, so I'll try not to do too much of that. So what we have here is the Bachmann Class 37, which I picked up off of eBay, I think for about 65 quid, something like that. It's the early version. It needs a service. The pickups are a bit dirty, so it every now and again hesitates. You can see the lights flicker, and the sound stutters sometimes, but that is because it needs the wheel backs cleaning and everything else, which I will do. But first of all I wanted to fit a DCC sound decoder to it, and of course I needed a speaker. And as I said, I bought some small speakers from Richard at Roads and Rails Models on eBay, and I bought some of the tiny little sugar cube type speakers without enclosures, with the intention of building something like the Zimmo speakers, where they have that kind of drive unit on a, I think probably 3D printed enclosure, but whether that's right or not I don't know. But people have said they sound very good. I think Susanna over at Ringwood South was extolling their virtues. It may not have been her, it may have been somebody else. I shall mention her a bit later in the video as well. But I have actually made one, so effectively I have produced a 12 quid speaker like Zimo's, I can't remember what they're called, Dumbos or something like that they're called. I've effectively produced one of their 12 quid speakers, and it's cost me I think £2.50 for the drive unit from Richard, plus a couple of hours time and about 3 or 4 square inches of plasticard, 40 thou plasticard. But it wasn't all plain sailing. The speaker was good, and I was amazed how good it was first time, and I made it specifically to fit in this locomotive because there's not much room. But it wasn't all plain sailing. First of all, the loco kept shorting out. It was very, very strange. It would run for a while and then it would short, and then it would run and then it would short, and it only did it when the body was actually screwed down to the chassis. So that little bit of movement that you get there, a lot of that is this flexing, but that little bit of movement you get there was enough to cause it to short occasionally, but it didn't short permanently. That took me a little while to realise what was happening. But the other problem I had was I fitted a Hornby TTS Class 37 decoder and just could not get the loco to run smoothly enough for my liking. I like my locos to run smoothly. This one needs a little bit more work on the pickups, but with the decoder I've got in it, it runs perfectly smoothly, as you've seen. I could not get that quality of running from the Hornby motor drive circuit in the TTS decoder. And I've complained about these before, in that Hornby will not follow convention. In fact, what they use is an old, apparently old, lens system. And even Lens don't use it anymore. They use a much better system, which does make their decoders very good and very pricey. Anyway, in the end I was about to give up and just throw the 37 decoder out of this loco and try it in a Vitrains loco. And I suddenly thought of something that had been on my mind as a contingency plan for if this ever happened, because I wasn't all plain sailing with my Hornby Class 31 with a TTS decoder in it. And I hatched a contingency plan then, and it came back to me. And that contingency plan was to not let the Hornby TTS decoder drive the motor, but to use the Hornby TTS decoder effectively as a function only decoder, and have another decoder in the loco to drive the motor. Now this sounds incredibly expensive, but if you buy a Lays DCC direct plug, or any other Lays DCC mobile decoder, that's a motor and 4 functions, you can get them for under 10 quid. I got the TTS decoder for I think 36. So we're talking now £46 for a sound fitted Class 37 that runs well and sounds good. Okay, I did spend another £2.50 to buy the speaker, and may have spent even more if there'd been more room, but the speaker is well worth spending money on, and that's another part of the equation. But compare £46 to £100, pretty much 98 I think they are now, for a Zimo sound decoder. Yes, you get a lot more for your money in the Zimo sound decoder, but quite honestly, how much of it do you use? In the end, how much of it do you use? Unless you're going to do extensive modifications to the loco, you're going to use very little of it, to be honest. So, what I've done is fitted 2 decoders. And I'll show you, and I'll tell you where the short came from as well. So I've taken the screws out, so I'm just going to drop the body off, and I'll have to undo these plugs and sockets here so that we can remove it from the chassis. That's one. two. Okay, they are just connected to the headlights at each end of the loco. So they go to the headlights at that end for that one, the other one just the headlights at that end for that one. Keep it the right way round. I think I got it the right way round. I like my locos to have the number one end here, which means that that's the forward direction. But I'll sort that out anyway. Okay, so we have these two plugs here which plug in under there and they disappear down there. I thought they were shorting out. What actually turns out is that I didn't insulate the top of this decoder because it's a plastic body. It's got a sticky pad under it, so it won't go anywhere, but it does rock about a little bit. If I rock it, if I do this to it, it will rock. Not much, but a little bit. And I purposely put it so that it was under the fan. My speaker is here at the other end where there's more room, and that fan is held on by two screws, which I didn't notice. I just did not notice that there were two screws, one here and that one there was just touching some of these contacts across the end and causing the short. I'm pretty lucky it didn't blow the decoder up, because if it had shorted the right two it could actually have taken the decoder out, but it didn't, and I tracked it down long before I tried to get the motor to run perfectly. But as I say, I couldn't get the motor to run properly, so I hatched this plan to use two decoders. One is a sound decoder, which is here, the Hornby TTS decoder, which I have cut off the plug from, don't need that, and all the wires at the moment are just stuck in this little bit of sort of black tack. It's not actually black tack, it's Homelux bath seal. It's a bit stickier than black tack and a bit softer. And I've just wired the red and the black wires from the decoder straight down to where the pickups come in to the board. One there and one over there. So the decoder is powered from the pickups, as it would normally be. And I fitted another decoder in the socket. This isn't a Lays DCC decoder. This is one of the old Hatton's decoders, made by DCC Concepts, but it's pretty much identical to the Lays DCC ones in terms of all the features that they have between them, and how they drive the motor and how well they drive the motor. So I've just fitted that in there. Whether I'll put a Lays in there, I don't have any direct pin Lays decoders. I've only got 8-pin ones and 21-pin ones, 8-pin harness decoders and 21-pin, and really the ideal is to plug it straight in there. There's plenty of height for it, it's not a problem. And as you've probably noticed, this is my little speaker, which is made out of 1mm plastic art, 40 thou, and the drive unit is sat on the end here. So there's only 2mm below the bottom of the drive unit to the bottom of the speaker enclosure. This is just a solid box that's all sealed up. I cut it and glued it together so it's solidly sealed, and this bit around here has been sealed again with this Homelux bath seal, and it goes all the way around the edge of the unit. I did stick a bit of plastic card underneath to drop it down below the speaker level. But that is what was giving you all that sound that you were hearing when it was running around the track. And it's at the wrong end of the loco. It's facing upwards. Well, I say facing upwards. There isn't a hole underneath it. Bachmann's chassis is solid here. So it's simply sat on a piece of double-sided tape there, and it's throwing the sound wherever it can. I note that a lot of it's coming out of here, because there is a hole there. It's difficult to see, but you can, oh dear, you can just see a hole under the fan, and I noticed that produces a lot of sound both out of the top and underneath, out of the bottom of the loco. So I'm quite happy with the way it sounds. for a TTS decoder it's pretty damn good. And as I say, this decoder does all the driving, at the moment drives all the lights, but there is a caveat to what I've got here. The TTS decoder drives the lights with function key 0, the usual, on function wires 0 and 1, which is usual, and therefore the lights work totally normally on the same buttons as everyone else's lights work. I want to fit cab lights to this, and somehow I'll have to fit them up here, but I can't fit cab lights to it without losing a sound, because although I can map the functions on this decoder, I can't get one high enough up to miss all the sounds. I can move them around the function keys on the command station, but I can't get one high enough. I can only go to F12. They don't map any further than F12. That is the NMRA standard, that they map up to F12. If you buy a Zimo decoder, they will map right up to F29, and in 3 different ways as well. There's NMRA mapping, alternate mapping and Swiss mapping, and they're all in the Zimo decoder. They're the sort of things you get in Zimo that you don't get in cheap decoders. But what I've decided to do is use Hornby's function output, their 3rd function, to drive my cab lights. I was going to use one of the functions on here, 2 or 3, functions 3 or 4, but I shall use function 3 out of the Hornby and not use 3 and 4 out of here. So this one will drive headlights and rear lights and motor, and this one will drive sound, which is the speaker, and the cab lights. And that means I don't need to do any function mapping, I just need to connect up to the right wire. And indeed what I shall do is I'll use the green wire that comes out of this function, out of this decoder. That green wire will go to the cab lights at each end. So that's what I did with my Bachmann unit, and as I think you probably could hear, it's loud. It's probably a little bit too loud at the moment. That's, I think, on Hornby's standard sound settings. I will go around and play with those, which is easy to do. I use JMRI to do it, and Decoder Pro, but you can do it directly entering functions on your command station, so long as you can get up to the 100s, because they're on functions 1.6 something to 1.8 something. That is where the sound volumes are. But anyway, that's that little segment, and you can see how it actually works reasonably well. But as I say, that's before I've even serviced it. I need to give it a good service as well, and do something about the fact that the pickups are very dirty. If they don't touch the wheels, then I'll need to do more than that, but at the moment I'm hoping it's just dirty pickups. Didn't try putting the speaker in there because I wanted to try this idea of building my own speaker enclosure, and my goodness, didn't it work well. I was over the moon when I first connected the speaker to the decoder and hit the engine start button. The sound that came out of it was tremendous, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful sound out of a tiny little drive unit like that. Not high fidelity, but a bloody good loco. Okay, I'll wind that bit up. We'll have a look at the other project I've been working on, my Heljan Class 47. Here we are with the second project I've been spending my time on between eBay sales, which is Heljan Class 47. In this case the body is off the chassis, and Susanna will know about this because she had a real problem when she took the body off of her Class 47 from Heljan, and apparently the chassis went one way and the body went the other. I hope she hasn't done it any damage. She didn't seem to think she'd done any damage, but I didn't think she was sure. But anyway, I really struggled to get the body off because it is so tight over these ends here. It's very tight. It slides nicely when you get it on the move, but as soon as you grab it, you make it tighter. and the clips stop you from undoing it. When you flick the body out to undo the clips, what happens is it gets difficult to slide it up. And all in all, I really struggled with it. I have to admit I struggled. But this is a Class 47 variant that I've wanted an example of for a long time. This is the Rail Freight Grey version with the early Freightliner branding. This is P&O Netheroid. But there were a hell of a lot of these that used to run around Crewe, etc. Again, my area. In 2000, I've got a video shot in 2000 where there were several of these going up and down between the depots, not actually operating intermodals at all, just light engine. And I think I saw one or two on intermodals, and that was in 2000, which is, you know, a good point in my era. So I'm happy with that. I was a bit worried because I know these early Helljans can suffer from chassis rot, and when I couldn't get the body off, I thought, oh no, is this chassis going rotten and expanding and stopping me getting it off? But I think the chassis is fine. It certainly doesn't look rotten, and it doesn't look as if it's got any cracks and pits in it. It's dead smooth, and I've actually polished it as well to hopefully get the body on a little better. Anyway, what I want to do with this is I want to fit sound. There's plenty of room for a big decoder here. So again, if I need to fit a sound decoder plus an ordinary one, and there's another one of those Hatton's decoders there. Yes, this one hasn't been run, so that's not really in the right place. Another one of the Hatton's decoders, because I don't have a direct plug lays. Plenty of room for it, and I'm mulling over which speaker I'm going to try to fit here. I've unplugged everything at the moment, so I've got the front lights plugged in, but I haven't got the rear lights. The other thing I need to do to it is, this is not LED lit, this is incandescent bulbs. You know, they are they're genuine bulbs, not LEDs, and they're very dim, and I don't particularly like them. And I've had a look, they're underneath this plate and this plate, and the plates just lift off, they're just pushed in, and then when the body's on, they're held down by the cab bottoms of the 47, which reminds me, fitting a cab light's going to be quite difficult in there. Yes, I'm certainly going to give it a go, but it's not going to be that easy. Anyway, that's another story. But yeah, I have some TTS Class 47 decoders, so I'm going to try one in here. And I've got to, as I say, decide what speaker to use. I've got a few from Richard. One that I got from him, he suggests will fit a Vitrains 47, but it won't fit in here. It's about 3 or 4 millimeters too tall to sit on there and not hit the roof, which is sad. The other thing is, I was amazed that the Helljan 47s don't have in any way see-through fans. This is all solid, it's all moulded and clipped on afterwards, I think, with the fan in it. And I think it's got, I think this is an etched grill here, but there's no see-through. There's no way for the sound to get out from that body at all. So, I'm not sure what it'll sound like with a speaker inside it, but there is another place where you can put a speaker in this, and that's in there. I'll just pop that off the bottom, and there's quite a lot of room for a speaker in there. You could almost use it as a speaker baffle. Not sure how to do that because it's flat here, but I may give that a try. I'm going to put that back on left-handed, it's a bit difficult. So, I was working on this and realised that even before I fitted DCC, its ability to pick up from the track was atrocious. Much worse than that Class 37 that just needs a service. this was awful. And when I tested it, as I did without DCC, I just tested it by shoving a battery across, 9-volt battery, across each pair of wheels. These are just cosmetic wheels, they don't do anything. But these 4 sets pick up the current. And what I found, to my horror, is that only one set of wheels was actually picking up any power. And I thought, oh, it's just, you know, because I went to that, there, nothing happened. Went to here, or was it here, one or the other, and it started. And I went back to the others, and it still didn't go. I thought, I can't believe this. It was running okay, but then it weighs a ton. So even off of 2 wheels and possibly the occasional pickup from the others, it was managing to work. But when I looked at the pickups, and you can see them, you won't be able to see them I don't think, but they were all over the place. On one of the bogies, 2 of them didn't touch the wheels at all, which meant that there was definitely no pickup. On the other one, it was debatable whether the pickups touched the wheels. The only one that was good was the one that I could see worked. So I thought, I'm going to have to strip it all the way down and find out how to adjust the pickups. Because adjusting the pickups in situ is a dangerous game. And I think that's what somebody had already tried to do. And I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the bogies out, and I am going to drop the wheels out of the bogies, and I'm going to clean the backs of the wheels, and I'm going to adjust the pickups, and then drop the wheels back over the pickups and know that they've got a good spring tension to the backs of the wheels. So that's what I did. Taking them apart is not easy. You have to take this board out first, because otherwise you can't see the cardan shaft. This board pops out from here, and I just unplugged good old Heljan. That is something that's great about Heljan. All of the wires go into sockets on the board. Hornby and Bachmann could learn a bit from that. Every loco I've seen from Heljan does that, and I applaud them for that. You know, it's brilliant. And you can buy these as units, apparently, although I've not been very successful finding Heljan spares, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But what you have to do in order to get the bogie out, the bogie pivots on this bar that runs across. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There's a bar that runs across there. The ends of it are here and here, and that's held in place by the body when it's on, and that pivots in that direction, and then through here it can pivot in that direction. So it's like a universal joint. It can pivot in all planes, it can pivot in all directions, and you have to break that universal joint. It's all plastic, and the easiest way is to pop this piece off the top of the bogie unit. You pop that off, and then you can, that releases that top part of the universal joint, which you might or might not be able to see just there. I can get a bit closer to the and get any sort of focus. God, I'm terrible at this. It's that universal joint there, I think. Anyway, I popped that off and did the bogies one at a time, drew the bogie out from the cardan shaft. Still a lot of fiddling, but I got it out. Dropped the wheels out by undoing the underside. You can take this apart as well, but you can't really get to the, well, you can. That was something I hadn't realised, how easy it was to get to the pickup springs from this side. You can actually just push these bogie sides off. I hadn't realised that, not till I got it out and could have a good look at it. And if you push the bogie sides off, then you can see where the pickups are, and then if you can get this piece off with the bogie in situ, then you can adjust everything. Drop the wheels back in, you can lubricate all the gears, and you can avoid taking the bogie out. But it is very easy to do once you've got the bogie out. Unfortunately, that end went perfectly. This end was going perfectly until I was almost finished putting it in, and then the piece that clips on the top there, as I clipped it on, it broke. And it's got two little pieces that go down the sides God, yeah, that hook underneath two others on each side, and that holds the bogey together, the bogey sides together, and ensures that the worm, etc., sits properly in its bearings where the cardan shaft goes. When I did this one, it broke, so I went looking for Helljan spares, and that was where I realised it was going to be tough. I didn't try going straight to Helljan's Peterborough office, but you can't phone them, you can fax them, or you can email them, I think. No, you can't email them. You can write to them or you can fax them, according to what I got here. I haven't got a super modern, oh, I'll tell a lie, I have. I couldn't think of that. I have got a super modern Helljan loco because I bought a class 58. And that is a modern one. That's about 10 years the junior of this one. This one's 2002, so it is one of the very first. Anyway, I tried them. It seems that Howes of Oxford are the spares place. They're not the importers, but they are the major distributor or whatever it is for spares. Looked at what they'd got, nothing. I only needed that little clip-on piece. Looked on eBay to see if there were any spares or repairs, locos or bogies or anything. All get snapped up at ridiculous prices. Anyway, what I did was using one of the tiny little screws that I got with that I've got for building my inspection pits on North Grove. I actually screwed it down. This side's still got the clips. I put a screw in there. I had to push it as far over that way as I could so it didn't hit the worm and went into some plastic. But it's there and it holds, and the worm isn't held up. So I saved myself all the aggro anyway, and that's what you've got to be careful of. The parts go brittle after a while, but that now picks up perfectly on all 4 wheel sets, 8 wheels, which is what it's supposed to do, and it runs beautifully. It's very quiet, very smooth. Haven't tried a TTS decoder in it yet. That will be my next task, but got to come up with a speaker system. Oh, excuse me. Got to come up with a speaker system first. So that's what I've been doing over the last week, as well as getting rid of some more stuff on eBay. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to go and get on with a bit more modelling, and hopefully see you in a week or 2. So thanks for watching. Sorry to waffle. Please like, subscribe, etc. And I'll give you a link to the Silhouette channel. Sorry, channel. The Silhouette videos on my channel, if you want to know what a Silhouette portrait cutter is. Anyway, thanks very much. Bye for now.